Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this fine Thursday evening?
Yeah, James, it is Thursday. I'm doing all right. And oh my Lanta, we had a bye week. And now we're excited for football again. James, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well. I got to say, there's no reason not to be looking forward to Steelers football coming up again this weekend. So excited to see it. Excited to be here with you and all of you fine folks listening and watching.
Yeah, for those of you not watching on YouTube, that crack open, that seal that you heard just break is a energy drink, a Lonnie energy drink. It is not James drinking alcohol at 4:40 p.m. on a Thursday evening.
Although
James,
I've done that before.
You have. I was probably right there with you back in the good old days when we first met at Best Buy. Fun times. Shout out to the Best Buy crew back then. That was a fun time. Anyways, we're going to go over last month's numbers like we always do on the first episode of a new month. So we're going to go over numbers from last month. We're going to talk about our preseason predictions, James, and where they sit as of now. Both mine, yours, and our good buddy Nick Pretzels, who was also on for that show. And then we're going to talk about a lot of roster moves, a lot of things that happened leading up until this game that we have coming up this weekend, Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Commanders. So that's going to be the breakdown of the show as it sits today. If you guys are just joining us, prepare, buckle up. If you're listening in the car, be safe. And it's time to talk some Steelers. Steelers by the Lake numbers first, James. James, I want to share the top downloaded countries in the world. So here we are, top countries. James, number 1, big shocker, United States of America. Woot,
What?
woot. We don't expect anything different. Number 2, China. China popping up on number 2 downloaded country. Number 3, Russia. And then number 4 was the UK and Scotland, to be specific. So top 4 downloaded countries. We love to see. Listen, maybe we need to start playing football in Russia. We're going to Germany. Do we need to start having Russian football games? I mean, they're Steelers fans, apparently.
Apparently, man. Maybe some station troops over there. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's not the Russians. It's just us.
It's our spies.
It's USA everywhere.
Maybe at the U.S. Embassy in Russia. You know,
It could
if
be.
that's the case, let us know.
Be. Yeah. Reach out. Let us know. We'll get you on the show.
Top states from last month. Pennsylvania came in at number 1.
Shocking.
Again, a gigantic shocker, although we do get upset once in a while.
We do.
Number 2, Virginia. Shout out to the folks there.
Mhm.
The real Virginia, not the West one. And then number 3, California. Number 4, Missouri. And then number 5, Texas.
Texas.
So those
Woot,
are our
woot.
top 5 states.
Woot woot. We love to see it. Now, James, we are going to bump over and talk about the preseason predictions, the 3 bold predictions that we had. James, do you want to go? You want to go over yours, and then we can jointly go over Nick's, and then I can go over mine.
Yeah, let's go with this, man. This is fun. We told you guys we'd do this. We'd check in the midway point, see if any of us were close on any of them. It's a rough start for me, I'll tell you what. My first prediction was 25 passing touchdowns by the offense. We've got, 8 so far at the almost midway point, so not trending in the right direction for me there. My second one, I went bold with Keanu Benton getting 8.5 sacks this upcoming season here, this current season. Keanu Benton is struggling to register sacks thus far.
0.
He's a big old 0 so far. So that one not looking too good for me either. And then my final one was Pat Freiermuth with 75 catches or more. I believe he's at like 26 right now in the season. So he's a little bit behind that pace thus far. 1 or 2 big games and he'll be right on pace to go ahead and get that number. So that's my best looking one so far, which isn't that great. But that's why we call them bold predictions, right?
That is. Taking a look at Nick Pretzel. Shout out to Nick Pretzel. He's not on the show today with us, but a good friend and supporter of the podcast. and a guest appearance sometimes. He has the first bold prediction being that Pittsburgh goes 13-4 on the year, on pace to do that, quite frankly,
Absolutely.
right now. We are entering into the tough, the hardest part of the season, the second half of the season. And he also has us going 6-0 in the division with that first bold prediction. So there's still a chance of that. We haven't had a division. We haven't had a divisional game yet. So there's still a good chance of that. He also has 3 1,000-yard rushers. Not on pace for that. Not even close right now. The leading rushers on the team, I want to say, and I have the numbers pulled up here. Just give me 30 seconds. It's Najee with 592. Justin Fields with 231, and he probably won't be doing that much more. Jaylen Warren with 151, and then you have a handful of people under 100 yards. So not on pace for 3,000-yard rushers, and that's just the way it is. He also had Darnell.
Najee looks like he's going to get there.
No, oh yeah, Najee will get there. Najee should definitely, knock on wood, barring any injury or anything. And then his third and final bold prediction for the year was Darnell Washington having 7 touchdowns. Darnell Washington has 1 touchdown right now. So there's still a chance. It's not looking good. Don't put your money on it if you're a betting man or woman, but there's still a chance. The passing game has improved with Russell Wilson in. However, we did just receive another new passing weapon. We'll talk about that later. But still a chance for Nick there. But now time to look at mine, James.
Yeah, Cody, because you went really bold on some of yours, and people need a refresher on what you had in mind.
I went really bold on a lot of mine. So the first one was I had TJ Watt not leading the team in sacks. He currently leads the team in sacks with 6.5. And Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith both are not even halfway there, sitting at 3. So there's still a half a season left. Something could change. Mm-hmm. We're not holding our breath, but something could change. My second bold prediction, James, was that we would have 4 1,000-yard all-purpose players. We're not on pace for that.
On pace for 2?
2, yeah, George Pickens and Najee Harris. But we'll see what happens there. Not holding my breath again. And James,
you got screwed on that one with Jaylen Warren getting injured, because that was the third guy that we were almost banking on.
Yeah.
And then we were hoping one of the wide receivers would step up. And there hasn't been a big role from any of the other wide receivers yet. So
no, and part of that was because of play calling with Justin Fields in and execution and a lot of different things. And those numbers could improve.
And the Roman Wilson injury.
And those numbers could improve throughout the year with Russell Wilson now coming in and performing well with the passing game and the deep balls and this and that. So we'll see. Listen, if I reach 4 500-yard all-purpose players, or even 750, 750, we'll go 750. In my mind, I'm winning, and that's a W. I'll take it. It's close. The last bold prediction that I had this preseason, and this show, James, you may have the date there. I don't remember exactly when this show was dated.
August 31st.
August 31st. That's when we had these conversations. Mm-hmm. My third bold prediction of the year was that the tight end room would account for 50% of the passing touchdowns, or receiving touchdowns, I should say. James, Pat Freiermuth has 2 touchdowns. Darnell Washington has 1 touchdown. Connor Hayward has 1 touchdown. That's 4 touchdowns, James. The team only has 8 receiving touchdowns. That's a winner so far.
That's our only truly, I mean, that and Nick's prediction of 13-4. Those are the 2 best on pace right now. So hopefully Pittsburgh can have a strong second half of the season. We can nail a few more of these, because the more of those bold predictions that we nail, the better I like our chances of getting into the playoffs and really making some noise this season.
I mean, outside of TJ Watt not leading the team in sacks, he could stay at 6.5 and somebody could get 7, and then it's not great. But
that would be bad, yeah.
Yeah. So get more than that. That's all we're talking about.
So back to the news. Tons of transactions happened. I'm sure you've heard about a few of them by now, but let's touch base on these. First off, the trades. That's the big news that happened this last week.
Yep.
Mike Williams, the New York Jets wide receiver, Pittsburgh went ahead and traded for him. They only gave up a 5th-round pick. They had 2 5th-round picks. It is going to be the lesser of the 2. So that's the way the trade was written up. whichever one ends up being the later pick of the two is the one that the Jets will receive in this trade. So one of those being the Rams pick, the other one being the Steelers pick for this upcoming season. So whichever team has the better season, we get to retain that pick.
No,
which right now looks like it'll be Pittsburgh.
I thought it was the worst season. I get what you're saying. Never mind. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. So Mike Williams, just before we go on to the next one, he's been around for a while. He was a number 7 overall pick back when he was drafted as a rookie. 6'4", 218 pounds. He wasn't a super fast dude. He was a 4.5, 440 when he came out. But he's known for being a contested catch and jump ball expert, especially tracking the ball on a deep pass. So this is the kind of thing that marries the skill set of Russell Wilson very well. He was actually on schedule to come in the preseason, in the off season, for a visit to try to become a Pittsburgh Steeler. He went to the Jets. The Jets made sure he signed a contract before he left, so he never even made it to Pittsburgh, but he was scheduled to come. They wanted him in because they kind of figured he would fit the scheme. So it's someone they've had their eye on for a while. And I feel like this is bad news for Van Jefferson. I don't think that this is necessarily going to be shown fully this week because he's still got to get comfortable with the playbook. But I think that eventually what we're going to see is he's going to be the starting wide receiver number 2 with George Pickens. Van Jefferson's minutes are really going to be cut down because of it. So, and we'll see how that plays out as the season goes along here.
And just to go over his numbers real quick, he played with the Los Angeles Chargers from 2017 to 2023 before his not even a full year with the Jets recently. But he has 31 touchdowns on his career. None this year, only one last year. His best year was his second year with 10, and he's bounced around between 2 and 10 the rest of the time. Or 2 and 9, I should say. Again, the goal here is that his skill set will pair well with Russell Wilson's deep bomb and be a complementary player to George Pickens. Going into this, and I talked about this before in previous shows, I wasn't in major desire for a receiver. And I thought Pittsburgh could have done more or traded for a better position, maybe offensive lineman or a corner safety. But at this point, I'm more confident with the corner and safety room after what we've seen with Beanie Bishop, Cam Sutton coming back. We'll get to all those things. But I don't hate this trade. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think obviously time will tell what happens with this. If he comes out and performs the same way he did with the Jets, it's a failure. He has 12 receptions for 166 yards and no touchdowns through 9 games. It's not good by any means, number-wise. But hopefully he can come in, get some practice, build some rapport with Russell and the rest of the team, and hopefully this turns into something good for Pittsburgh, and hopefully this can create mismatches, because something that's not on here, James, that I want to talk about real quick, the Baltimore Ravens just added depth to their cornerback room. They just brought in, I forgot his name now. The Commanders, who we play this week, brought in Marshawn Lattimore. So now we have Lattimore more than likely going to be shadowing George Pickens.
Ravens brought in Trey White, I believe.
Tre'Davious White. That is who they brought in. So they improved their cornerback depth, and we haven't even played them yet. So the addition...
I think that was in response to the Marlon Humphrey injury. I believe he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. So that makes sense that they had to make a move there. I'm not as worried about that one, I'm going to be honest, because Trey White was slow like 3 years ago, and then he had 2 season-ending injuries back-to-back seasons. So I have a feeling that he's probably got that Patrick Peterson thing going on, where he's a lot slower than he used to be, which might play out real well. Now, if he's matched up against the new addition here, Mike Williams, then okay, that's probably a pretty even matchup. But if he's up against George Pickens, I think Pickens can dust him at this point. So I like that. As far as the value of the Mike Williams trade, to me, I like it because a late 5th round pick is not much capital at all. It's kind of rare that you get much of an impact out of a 5th round pick. I want to say the biggest one that really stuck out in my mind over the last few years would have been Vince Williams. Vince Williams was a pretty good player for us, but never to be mistaken as a Pro Bowl player, and technically somebody that didn't even really want out there on pass coverage situations, so they blitzed him all the time because he was not that good in coverage, but he was really good at getting after the quarterback in a pass rushing situation.
Yeah.
So to me, if he gives us 30 catches, 450 yards, 4 touchdowns in the second half of the season, I think it's a big win.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
that's
because of how low value that is.
That's half of the touchdowns we have now. I mean, as a team.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that would be phenomenal. So James, let's go ahead. Let's talk about the second trade that happened before the trade deadline. Big one, in my opinion, 7th round pick for a outside linebacker, Preston Smith from Green Bay. He was drafted to the Washington Commanders. If I'm not mistaken, he was drafted 38th overall. So early in the second round, or mid second round, I should say, in the 2015 NFL draft. And this is a guy, here comes my Chris Collinsworth. Now here's a guy, outside of his rookie year, he has started in every single game he's played other than 3. So you are bringing on a starting caliber outside linebacker who is going to be a backup.
And you look at his sack production, he's got some pretty serious sack production over those years, right, Cody? I think you've got that in front of you, don't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll go down the entire career so far from 2015 to 2024. 8 sacks his rookie year, followed by a 4.5 sack his sophomore year. 8, and then 4, and then he had a big year in 2019 with 12. And then dropped down to 4 again. And then the last 3 years, 9, 8.5, and 8. That's phenomenal. Those are good numbers.
Great. That's a great number 2 pass rusher, let alone a guy that's going to be 3 or 4 for us.
Yep. And he's only at 2.5 sacks this year. Not doing quite as well. But again, we don't need him to do that. What?
And exactly, you're right. We don't need him to do as much, but also Green Bay just changed their defensive scheme. He played his entire career as a 3-4 outside linebacker. This year is the first year they're on a 4-3 defense. All of a sudden, he's trying to play 4-3 defensive end instead of 3-4 outside linebacker.
And he was struggling.
So yeah, it was not a good scheme fit for him. In fact, he was getting 50% or less of the snaps this season in Green Bay because of the fact that it was a poor scheme fit.
Yep.
So I really, really like this one. I feel like this is very similar to the Marcus Golden signing a couple years ago.
I think this is drastically better.
Well, Golden was like a 3-time Pro Bowler, wasn't he?
I mean, yeah, but he was.
I don't know that Preston Smith ever had that.
No, he's never had a Pro Bowl. But I feel like Golden was kind of falling off stat-wise and performance-wise, while this guy still put up 8 sacks last year.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. He's not on a downward trend yet other than this year's production. And like we just covered, it was a poor scheme fit. He's not getting as many snaps. So I love it. My only concern on this trade, the value of 7th round pick for a guy with this kind of resume, I think is fantastic. That's absolutely incredible. My only concern is, does this mean that Nick Herbig is not as close to returning as we thought he was? Or is this more of an indication that maybe DeMarvin Leal might not be able to return this season?
Yeah.
I think that this was probably one of those two. I see that Nick Herbig is at least participating in practice. He's not full yet. We're going to go over all those things as we continue with the show here. That's just a little sneak into it. I wonder if this is a little bit more of a cushion, because we did have that stretch there where we had TJ Watt and practice squad guys.
Yep.
Like, and that was rough because TJ wasn't able to get any production because they were just double and triple teaming him on every single play. Now that we see Alex Highsmith has come back, TJ's production has come back along with it. So this might be just a little bit more insulation against injuries, a little bit more cushion, but also you get to keep them fresh. Let's not forget, in this last game against the Giants, when Beanie Bishop got that game-sealing interception, TJ and Alex Highsmith were on the sideline because they were gassed.
Yep.
So we had like Jeremiah Moon and like Atakundo whatever out there, right?
Agunda J.
Like Agunda J. I think those were the 2 pass rushers on the play, which means they didn't get the interception because of those 2 guys. I think that was some pressure up the middle from Loudermilk that forced that poor throw on that particular play. But we had like all backups on the field, and it sure would feel a lot better in that situation to know that Preston Smith is one of those pass rushers, because extremely high quality backup, extremely high, would start for most teams in the league right now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm probably well over half of them.
Yeah, I would say.
And
He'd
so,
start for Cleveland right now. They just traded away one of their starters.
yeah, they did. They're trading the house away. Cleveland and Carolina both are getting rid of are emptying shop.
For sale signs are up there.
Yeah. So again, Preston Smith is going to be a valued addition. I like that. I like that trade a lot more due to the giving up a 7th instead of a 5th. And I feel like Preston Smith. This could be wrong, but I feel personally like Preston Smith could have a more immediate impact on the game, whether just from allowing TJ or Alex to be rested, or getting sacks in production himself. So very excited to see that. Also, James, because this is noteworthy in my opinion, 71 tackles for loss on his career, 155 quarterback hits. So he's not.
I like the tackles for loss stat there because I feel like one of the drop offs that we get when the backup outside linebackers go out there
stop the run.
is they're not as good against the run. And this is no like huge knock. This is not me bashing Nick Herbig, but Nick Herbig is a 240-pound outside linebacker. This is a 265-pounder with like 34.5-inch long arms that is just built for defending the run, for block and shed. He's very good against that. So it's really going to help you as we get into the real meat and potatoes of this season, where we're going against the Ravens twice, and they're one of the best rushing teams in the entire NFL. The Browns are notorious for being a good rushing team, although they're struggling mightily this year. They still have Nick Chubb. You don't want there to be a massive drop-off in the run defense when you put your backup outside linebackers out there. And I think he might have a bigger impact against the run than he does rushing the passer, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we'll take that all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. But with that being said, moving on to other news real quick. Tight end Rodney Williams was released. Dylan Cook is back on the practice squad, so that's good for that injury update. He's back. Wide receiver Ben Skoranek. James, you want to talk about Skoranek for us?
Yeah. Ben got a few weeks with us before getting injured and landing on reserve. He has begun his 21-day window, has returned to practice. So we'll talk about whether or not he's limited or full or whatever when we go through all that stuff. But Ben was a real standout on the punt coverage unit. So that's something that we would watch for. If he returns, I think this is a dangerous sign for Scotty Miller. We had talked previously about would this be something with the Mike Williams addition? Would we see Scotty Miller get cut? They kept him in favor of releasing Rodney Williams because you don't really need 5 tight ends on the roster. Four's plenty. So I think if Ben Skoranek completes this comeback from the injured reserve, I think Scotty Miller's really in trouble.
Yeah. Nope. I would agree completely. I would agree with that. Absolutely, completely. Tight end Matt Sokol and defensive tackle Dominique Davis signed to practice squad. Both those guys are probably just added depth pieces at this point. Matt being added because of releasing Rodney Williams. I'm shocked we didn't bring him back. I don't know if there was an injury there. Or James, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
I think he probably has to clear the waiver wire, so they have to wait a few days, and in the meanwhile, Sokol in just so that they'd have another tight end just in case. So I won't be surprised if we see like Friday or Saturday, Rodney Williams brought back onto the practice squad and Sokol released, and he's only here for a couple of days. Dominique Davis, been in the league for 3 years, big nose tackle type. I spent a little time with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's got a little bit of resume in the NFL and might know a little bit about that defense we're like they're for up in Cincinnati right now.
James, it's time to go over injuries. Do you want to do Pittsburgh this week and I can do the Commanders?
Sure, man. I'll take a little swing at our Pittsburgh Steelers this week. So first off, Justin Fields looks like he's returning from the hamstring injury. He's full in participation both days, both yesterday and today, so that's great. Ben Skoranek, as we mentioned, he's a full participant so far, so that looks very good for his return from the shoulder injury on the injured reserve. Terrell Edmonds has an illness and has missed a couple of days. Hopefully that's not severe and he'll be ready to go. If he's not ready to go, then he's going to be one of the actives, and that's just the way that's going to work. Tyler Matakevich has been full, and I believe he's eligible very soon. I want to say his 21-day window is running out.
It's close.
I think they have to make a decision on that before this week's game. So look for that news to probably hit within the next day or two. Nick Herbig has been limited the last 2 days with this hamstring. So that's still up in the air as to whether or not he's going to be ready to this weekend's game. I would caution them to not push it. You don't ever want to push somebody back too fast from a hamstring injury. Not good things happen when you do that. On the other side of things, Zach Frazier's been full the last couple of days. I've seen some videos of him in practice, and he is out there kicking butt and running around and looking great. So expect Zach to start this week, assuming he has no setbacks. Don't worry, I knocked on wood. We're safe. Zach looking great in practice, and that's going to be a huge addition for the offensive line because he was having an excellent season before that ankle injury sidelined him for a few weeks. Sayamalu getting some rest days just as a veteran. Michael Pruitt got it. Oh no, I just noticed that Michael Pruitt re-injured the knee, did not participate in practice today. Oh, that's awful news. So hopefully that's not significant because he was a full participant Wednesday. That happened today. So I'll do a TikTok for you guys on Sunday before the game and let you know what's going on with that. Hopefully he doesn't go back to the IR. If so, we might see Rodney Williams back to the 53 before the week's over. So we'll keep you updated on that. Cordarrelle Patterson's been full all week long, so it looks like he's ready to return from his ankle injury. And then Cam Hayward just got a day off with that contusion to the birth certificate, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. So nothing to be concerned about there.
No, absolutely not. Moving over to the Washington Commanders side of the ball, or side of the injury. And remember, we're recording this episode on Thursday, so we don't have an update for Friday's practice yet. If you guys want to get that update, remember to follow us on TikTok at Steelers by the Lake. James posts an injury update every week, roughly an hour and a half before kickoff. So that does go live. We will be trying to put that out on Instagram and Facebook moving forward as well. But also, so anyways, on Marshawn Lattimore, the guy that they just traded for, hamstring injury, hasn't participated all week. Very interesting there. I would not be upset if he's unable to go for this week. That'd be very good for us and for George Pickens. Offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas, dealing with an ankle injury, hasn't participated all week so far. Kicker Austin Seibert, dealing with a right hip injury, didn't participate on Wednesday, limited today. So we'll see what happens with him tomorrow. Dorrance Armstrong, a defensive end dealing with a shoulder injury, has been limited all week. Tyler Biadasz, the center, dealing with a thumb injury, limited on Wednesday, full participant at practice today. And then Clelin Ferrell, defensive end, dealing with a knee injury, limited participation on Wednesday, did not participate today. So very interesting to see that. That could be potentially good news. Dante Fowler, linebacker, dealing with a groin injury, limited all week so far. Brian Robinson, the running back, very good running back, hamstring injury, limited all week. And then another corner by the name of Noah.
Igbenogany.
Sure.
Igbenogany. I got this one.
Cornerback dealing with a thumb injury. He's been full participant all week. The main thing that could probably do is prevent him from intercepting balls. I don't expect him to not play on a thumb injury at the cornerback position. Andrew Wiley, the offensive tackle, last guy on their list, dealing with a shoulder injury, limited participant all week for that offensive tackle. So some big names on that offensive line, James, and we're going to go over the starters here, and some of them are starters. What's up?
There's a tight end on here.
You have a tight end. I don't have a tight end.
Hamstring. Okay. There's a tight end by the name of Colson Yankoff with a hamstring injury. Apparently he's been limited. So
very interesting.
Very interesting last name, Yankoff.
So yeah, very interesting name. We're going to move on from that. Let's go ahead and look at the Commanders depth chart. James, I'll go over offense if you want to do defense like we normally do.
Sounds good.
Quarterback room is led by the rookie Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is having himself a quietly good year. 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, almost 2,000 yards passing already. He has 106 passer rating. And he had that one walk-off touchdown Hail Mary against the Bears. So that's good. I mean, he's led this. The team's 7-2. The Commanders are no joke.
And he's the favorite for rookie of the year right now. He's having a pretty good year.
He should be. I agree completely with that. Running back room, Brian Robinson Jr., again, he's dealing with an injury. Austin Eckler is the backup, as well as Jeremy McNichols listed as the third string there. Tight end room, just because I want to go out of order here a little bit. Zach Ertz, a very capable Super Bowl winning tight end, previously played with the Philadelphia Eagles. John Bates and Ben Sinnott also listed as backups. And then you have Mr. Yankoff there in fourth string. That's all that matters. Looking at the wide receiver room, they're led by Terry McLaurin, a name that was rumbled around a lot, discussed with potential Steeler trades. I didn't see that happening. They want Jaden Daniels, this rookie, to have his young, talented receivers. Terry McLaurin, very, very quick. Got to watch out for him. Also have Luke McCaffrey, the brother of Christian McCaffrey, on the team. He's a rookie. I think he's having a not so great year so far. But again, it's his rookie year. He has 12 receptions for 111 yards. Nothing too crazy. And then you also have Olamide Zacchaeus. Excuse me. He is also having a quiet year with 21 receptions for 224 yards. And then you have a couple guys, Noah Brown and De'Ami Brown, listed as the backups to those wide receivers. And then James' offensive line. This is where it gets interesting. Brandon Coleman, the starting left tackle. Nick Algoretti, the starting left guard. Tyler Biadasz, the starting center, listed at the injury. We're probably going to see Michael Delter. So there's a chance of seeing him. Right guard, Sam Cosmi. That's probably the highlight of this offensive line is Sam Cosmi. He's a very good right guard. And then Andrew Wiley, the starting right tackle, listed for this team. Again, Wiley dealing with a shoulder injury, limited all week. If you're dealing with a shoulder injury, you got to go up against TJ Watt. Expect to be beat. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're known for chipping with tight ends and running backs.
Yep.
Zach Ertz doesn't strike me as the type that's going to be responsible for that. So I imagine these other tight ends will be doing that while he's out running routes. Going into the defensive side of the ball, Clelin Ferrell, starting defensive end on the one side, he was on the injury report. Again, Cody noted, I want to say he was a DNP today in practice, so that's a bad sign for him.
Yep.
Dorrance Armstrong, the starter on the opposite side. The backup defensive ends are Jalen Holmes and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. Jean-Baptiste being on the injured reserve, so Don't expect him to play. Jalen Holmes might get a lot of playing time then because Clelin Ferrell doesn't look like he's going to go. Starting D tackles, Darren Payne and Jerzon, a.k.a. Johnny Newton. Those are your starters there. Jonathan Allen on the injured reserve also, and Darian Mathis, also a backup defensive tackle. Might get a little bit of playing time there if they do a little rotation. The linebacker core, they're in a 4-3, so we've got three of them. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, and Dante Fowler Jr., who's also on the injured list.
Yep, limited all week.
It could be some backups getting some playing time there. Be familiar with this name, Michael Walker and Nick Bellator, or Bealor, it looks like. Michael Walker got a lot of playing time with the Steelers last year when the middle linebacker room got absolutely decimated. So we might see a little bit of Michael. If that happens, I like our odds of beating him. Into the secondary we go. The cornerback room, we've got Benjamin St. Just, Marshawn Lattimore, who we talked about on the injured list there with that hamstring, and then rookie Mike Samuelstill, which I was big on in this draft class. Also, Emmanuel Forbes Jr., who Emmanuel Forbes I was not big on, notably the skinniest corner in the entire NFL at only 166 pounds, and he's quite tall as well. Has coverage skills, has been absolutely abused so far in the NFL, which is exactly why they traded for Marshawn Lattimore, because it's not working out real well with Emmanuel Forbes thus far in his career. He really needs to put on probably 10 or 15 pounds to be able to play in the NFL. He was too skinny in college. He's way too skinny in the NFL. Safety room, Jeremy Chin, very, very multi-purpose type guy. He's stout against the run, big time hitter. And then Quan Martin, the other starting safety. Derek Forrest backing them up. He was the really athletic dude out of Cincinnati a couple years ago. I was kind of big on him, so I don't know if they get him onto the field or not, but I imagine he's probably a high-impact special teams type guy. That brings us to the special teams, Cody.
Special teams, special players, special plays. Punter and placeholder Tress Way. Kicker Austin Selbert. Again, remember he's listed on the injury list. They do not have a backup on the active roster right now. They probably have him on the practice squad. So that's just the way it is. Long snapper Tyler Ott, because long snappers matter. Just ask the Cincinnati Bengals, as James would say. And then the kick returner and punt returner are the same, with Zacchaeus, the wide receiver, Alamid Zacchaeus. So Austin Eckler, the backup kick returner or secondary kick returner, and Noah Igbenog, punt returner. So
that's brutal for you, man. You got Igbenogany,
Zacchaeus, Alamad.
tough one.
It's a tough one. It was a tough one today. But now it is time to share our 3 keys to success in defeating the Washington Commanders. James, it's my turn to go first. I'm 99% sure. If it's not, we're starting over. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
We're just going with it.
Yeah, we're just going with it. Number 1 in my 3 keys to success, and I'm going to utilize this to keep my one really good preseason prediction going, is get the tight ends involved early. I don't care if it's Pat Freiermuth. I don't care if it's Connor Hayward. I don't care if it's Darnell Washington. They all are athletes in different ways, shapes, and forms. Get them the ball, get them involved, whether it's tight end screens, down the seams, or just throw it up in the corner of the end zone, let Darnell come down with it. Getting the tight ends involved is my first key to success. Number 2, James, ruffle the feathers of Jaden Daniels. Quarterback hits, sacks, whatever it is, do it early and often in this game. I don't want to be waiting till late in the second quarter or early in the third to get our first sack. I want to see somebody get involved. And then, James, my third and final one is going to be one that you can tell if it happens or not, is to get the new guys involved. I don't care if Preston Smith gets a sack or a ball batted down at the line of scrimmage or an interception, or I don't care if Mike Williams gets a massive play down the field or a touchdown. Get them involved somehow. Make sure that we're utilizing these guys. That way the Commanders and other teams moving forward know that they got to take these guys seriously, as well as the players that we've already have who have helped lead us to 6-2.
I like it. I like it a lot, Cody. I'm a little bit different on mine, which thing. My first one is to contain Jaden Daniels. He's a very dangerous scrambler and has been really hurting a lot of people, not just with his arm throwing the ball, but with scrambling as well. So I want to see them keep him specifically to 30 yards rushing or less.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you do that, then he's not hurting you too bad, and you can kind of focus more on his throwing ability and trying to confuse the young player. Number 2, I want to see this passing offense of the Steelers continue to roll. We've had 2 great weeks right in a row there with Russ. I want to see the momentum continue. 275 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns is what I'm calling for in this week's game. So
Okay.
I want to see some nice big numbers out of Russ. He's been trending right around there the last 2 weeks. So not too crazy from what he's done on the last 2 games. And the most important one, maybe, and my final one, is to protect Russell Wilson. I want to see 1 sack or less. The last game we saw way too many times of him getting hit. I want 4 sacks on the game. That's too much. We got to see them protect Russ. Give him time, especially with a new weapon who's a deep ball specialist. You got to give him enough time to wind back and launch that moon ball that he loves to throw. If you do so, I like our chances against these corners. So give us a shot at that. And I think George and Mike Williams can get us some really nice big numbers receiving and maybe some touchdowns on top of it. So those are my 3 keys.
I love them. I love them, James. If you guys are listening or watching and have your 3 keys to success, how you feel or what you feel Pittsburgh needs to do to defeat the Washington Commanders, share them in the comments or DM us directly. We'd be happy to share those on the show and talk about whether or not yours hit or miss. And just a reminder, Steelers are now entering the toughest part of the schedule by far. We play, I think, in the last 9 games, 5 of the top 10 teams in the NFL, including the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Commanders, who are ranked 2nd in the NFC right now, and
Ravens.
then also the Ravens twice. So 5 games are going to be very tough. I mean, even the Bengals and Browns, I'm sure, will give us a little bit of a struggle being division rivals, and that's just how it kind of goes. especially when you see somebody 2 times a year, you kind of develop an understanding of how they play football and things like that. So again, very excited. Thank you guys for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, remember to subscribe.
Whoa! Put the brakes on. We need score predictions, Cody.
Score predictions. James, you go first.
All right. I think there's going to be some points in this week's game. I'm going to put Pittsburgh with 33 points, and I'm going to put the Commanders at 18, 33 to 18.
Ooh, that was
odd
actually
numbers,
close to
but
mine.
that's what I'm doing.
That was actually close to mine. James, I'm going Pittsburgh 38, and I'm going to go Washington Commanders 17.
Yeah, that's real close.
That's real close. I have us stopping them a little bit more, and then I have us scoring a little bit more late. It's going to be fine. So again, now thank you guys for watching or listening, whatever it is. We're real excited for where this podcast is going, and we appreciate you guys being here with us. Again, make sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James here very, very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.